As you might know, states have different methods for redrawing legislative maps after the latest census. Florida state legislature is working on redistricting the state right now as it becomes more racially and ethnically diverse than it ever has been. Democrat Fentrice Driskell represents the 63rd district in Florida. That's around Tampa in the Florida House of Representatives, and she joins us now for more on this. Representative Driskell, I want to get to the meat of this in a moment, but first, this is a big news day, and you have an interest in this topic generally. What is your overall reaction to the retirement news sitting around Associate Justice Stephen Breyer?
Well, Major, thank you so much for having me. And I have to tell you, as an attorney myself, that was very interesting news to read. And, you know, I would, of course, trust Justice Breyer and for whatever personal reasons he may have to do that. But what an exciting time for President Joe Biden. And, you know, it'd be the first time that he would have the opportunity to make a Supreme Court pick. And of course, many of us are watching with anticipation and bated breath to see whether this would be a diverse pick and perhaps the opportunity to nominate the first Black woman to the U.S. Supreme Court.
And because I think that would resonate with you particularly, if that were to be the history-making decision of President Biden, how would that land with you?
Oh, goodness, it would be wonderful. You know, I come up in a tradition of studying lawyers like judges like the Honorable Constance Baker Motley. I mean, there have been so many phenomenal Black female judges throughout history, and yet none of them, not a single one of them, have ever ascended to the high court. So I think it would be something that'd be great for the profession, great for our country, and what an incredible leap forward for President Joe Biden.
So, Representative Driskell, share with our audience where Florida is in the redistricting process and basically how you think it's going.
Sure. So in Florida, we have, of course, a House and a Senate in our Florida legislature. The Senate has passed its Senate district map. It's also passed a congressional map. They will send those over to the House. The House is in the process of passing its maps. In fact, I just completed a redistricting committee hearing just now where the House map was voted out of committee on nearly a party line vote, with most Democrats voting against it because of the lack of transparency in the process. The House has yet to put forth its congressional map. The Senate will generally take the House map. The House will generally accept the Senate map, but where there's going to be conversation and negotiation and give and take is over the congressional map that ultimately is adopted.
And if I have the numbers correct, it's 28 House districts, meaning for the House of Representatives here in Washington. I believe it's 40 state Senate districts, and then 120 House districts in Florida. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the rubber is meeting the road right now in the way the state Senate districts are being drawn and the House districts within the state are being drawn, correct? That's where most of your emphasis is?
That's correct, although the congressional map is at issue as well. So, you know, it's just that the House has not yet put forward its proposed congressional map. So we see what the Senate did. By the way, they did not take up Governor DeSantis' map, a proposed congressional map, which had gotten a lot of attention here in the state and nationally. So we have yet to see what the House is going to do with its congressional map, but it looks like the House maps are well settled.
And many in our audience know the terminology gerrymandering. It always comes up in this process. Does Florida have a system in place to ensure bipartisan participation and support for whatever map is produced?
Well, what Florida does have in place are constitutional requirements passed by the voters called our Fair District Amendments, and they were passed roughly a decade ago. And it is supposed to help ensure that these maps are drawn without respect to incumbency, partisanship, and it's supposed to ensure that minority districts are protected. So there are guardrails in place, if you will, in terms of the Constitution and case law that has come down throughout the years. One of the challenges we're having in Florida right now, though, is that typically during the redistricting process, the legislature would go on a roadshow, the redistricting committee would go on a roadshow around the state, trying to get input and feedback from the community about how these maps would impact them. But we weren't able to do that this year. And the reason that's been stated is because of COVID-19. But even with that, you know, the most that we've had is a website where the public could, submit input. But we found that to be inadequate. You know, this is going to set the stage for our districts for a decade, and we need more public input. And that's been part of the problem that my caucus has had in terms of just the lack of data that's getting out to the public and the lack of transparency that we've seen in the process.
Representative Driskell, you mentioned this a moment ago. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is empowered under state law to propose his own map. What can you tell us about what that map looked like and what's happened subsequently to that? Because I think there's something interesting in that whole process.
Well, I would actually take issue with that thought that he is empowered to produce his own map. We've not seen any governor in modern history propose a map in the course of redistricting. Now, the decision on whether to sign the map into law, the congressional map into law, whether to veto it, rests with Governor DeSantis. But it is within the purview of the legislature to draw that map. With respect to the proposed map that Governor DeSantis dropped, may I mind you, on the eve of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, that is a map that decreased minority representation, specifically Black representation, from 4 districts to 2. That is blatantly unconstitutional under the Fair District standards, and we don't think that those maps are going to fly. The Florida Senate decided not to take up that map. They proceeded with their own map, which was probably a smart thing to do because Governor DeSantis's map is unconstitutional.
So he just volunteered this map. He doesn't have any special authority to propose it. Is that correct?
That's correct. No special authority to propose it, no requirement to propose it. It was a bizarre thing that frankly caught everybody off guard. Sure, it made a news headline or two, but it's an unconstitutional map and we shouldn't waste any more time on it.
So I'd like to also ask you about the pandemic, which you also referred to a moment ago. While Florida state senators announced the confirmation of Acting Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo, Senate Democrats walked out, refusing to participate in the vote. Why are Democrats so opposed to Dr. Ladapo?
Well, you know, as a member of the minority party in the legislature, there are only a few tools that you have. One of them is your ability to raise your microphone and debate. Another one is to ask really tough questions. I said a few, but that's 2, to ask really tough questions. And so what my colleagues in the Senate were attempting to do were just get basic questions answered. They weren't even complex questions. Do you believe in the efficacy of vaccines, yes or no? And Dr. Ladapo proceeded to give very long-winded, rambling answers and refused to answer the questions. And my colleagues got so frustrated that they were left with no choice but to walk out.
Representative Fentrice Driskell, 63rd District of Florida's House of Representatives. That's in and around Tampa. We thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.